Welcome, friends. I'm Jen.
And I'm Lizzie, and we are on a journey to become the best versions of ourselves. This includes our fitness, our nutrition, our mental health, our emotional health, nurturing healthy relationships, and a lot of healing. This process is messy, and there have been a lot of tears on the way, but so many laughs and amazing moments that we've shared together. And now we're here to share them with you.
Yes, and we want to invite you into this conversation as we discuss each of our journeys and the new things we are learning on the way and give you the accountability and knowledge you're looking for in your own personal wellness adventure.
You're gonna eat so many more chicken nuggets.
It's Jen and Lizzie, girls that eat.
Okie dokie, and we're back.
We're back.
And we're back. Thursday. All right, this will be out on Thursday.
Yes, Thursday the 29th.
As I was saying, I was like, wait, what day is it? I'm going to confuse myself.
Yeah.
The days continue to blend all into one. I can't believe February is almost over.
I know. I just flipped my calendar to February and it's like it's already the end of February.
And it's a short month and it's a leap year, which is weird. So we have an extra day, right? The 29th.
29.
Did you ever know anyone that was born on a leap year day?
No, but I thought about that and I'm like, that sucks. Because your birthdays, you either have to do it on the 28th or March 1st. I don't
We
know.
had a girl in school, like in elementary school. What was her name? I think her name was Emily. And she was a leap year baby. So she was only like 3 years old or something.
Yeah.
Like actually,
Yeah.
a
Like your
couple years old.
calendar.
You just skip over you. Wouldn't
Yeah,
that be crazy if you actually didn't age? If you were a leap year child?
that would be nice. That
And
would,
you live so long.
yeah. It's like calendar years, I'm actually 12.
So yeah, I went to a comedy show and there was a girl, whatever the guy asked, there was a girl that said she was a leap year baby and her fiance were gonna be getting married soon. So he was like, so how old does it actually make you? And she was like, I think like 9, according to her leap year. And he's like, so what does that make your fiance? Like robbing the cradle, even though she was whatever, however many years old, like
Yeah.
mid 20s.
Oh man.
Weird,
Oh,
weird things.
we're both
Um,
days.
what'd you say?
We're both born on regular days.
Yeah, June 11th coming up, and again. All right, today we were going to go back to one of the questions that we were asked by one of our listeners,
Yeah.
Jerome.
Yes.
Um, do you have that pulled up? Would you like to read that for
Yes.
us?
The question for Lizzie is, what advice would you give to someone starting on their workout journey, beginner's level, who is trying to lose weight?
Okay. Well, starting with that one. Um, my first suggestion would probably be to try to get a coach. Get someone who can guide you. There's so much information online, social media. Everyone's a fitness influencer now. Um, Everybody has their ideas and their opinions, so it can just be very, very overwhelming to try to finish or figure out and begin your journey on your own. Um, Having that accountability, which we've talked a lot about through our podcast so far, is really helpful because motivation to do these things will not, it doesn't stick, right? I've probably said it before on this. Motivation is a fickle bitch. It comes and goes. You can't maintain it just depending how you're feeling, what's going on in your life. If you're frustrated, you're not seeing results, or you're just not clear on what you should be doing. So having that accountability is super important. Having a coach, an expert to guide you, is, in my opinion, the best way to start. And sometimes it takes a little while to find someone that you actually vibe with. It's like trying to find a therapist or a counselor. Like it doesn't mean the first coach is the only coach that's going to work for you.
Yeah.
Depending on, their expertise also, like whether it's a nutrition coach or just getting your body moving. At our CrossFit gym, like I am the nutrition coach for our location. We have another nutrition coach at our Nashville location.
Mhm.
And so we offer that. I try to encourage new people to start with our hybrid of fitness and nutrition because one, we're getting their bodies moving. We're helping them learn about their bodies too and make sure that they're moving properly, but we're also getting them jump started on their nutrition.
Mhm.
So focusing more on just healthy habits, not so much revamping everything that they're already doing. And working on one thing at a time. So you'll hear me say that all the time. Like you can't, if you try to change more than one thing, you're not going to be successful for the most part. Or it's just not sustainable. So getting your body moving, like if you have a weight loss goal, it's good too to just start moving. You will see those changes start to happen. But then the nutrition side of things is super important too, because we can break down what you might be eating too much of, what you're probably eating too little of, which seems to be most people just don't eat enough whole foods in general, or food at all. When we get our, I would love to dig into this a little bit more another time, but when we figure out our clients' basal metabolic rate, your BMR, is the amount of calories that you burn just keeping the lights on. Like, so just when you're laying in bed doing absolutely nothing but sleeping, breathing, digesting, your heart's pumping, your body burns anywhere from 12 to 1800 calories, if not more, depending on how much
Really?
muscle you have on your body.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Just to function, right? So it's not just activity that we're doing, but like my muscle's working on repairing itself right now. So all these little people inside of me are trying to like
Yeah.
so back up the muscles, but so there's constantly activity going on and work being done, calories being burned, because it all takes energy. So usually when I meet with people and give them, like, we do an in-body scan, so we get biometrics, we get those numbers of like their muscle mass, their body fat mass, water in their body also, and then we get that BMR number. And usually it's pretty shocking to people because they're trying to lose weight, and so they go off of, oh, I should be eating less than 1200 calories, which is that number. And that came up like 100 years ago when they were trying to, during the world wars, when they were rationing food. And then it just stuck as like, we only need this many calories to lose weight, but a toddler needs more calories than that. So not the one to go by. So finding those numbers, BMR, most people are kind of shocked, realize that they definitely don't eat enough. But again, we want to make sure it's the right foods.
Yeah.
So I mean, so many different ways we could go off on that topic, but to keep it simple, to answer that question, find yourself a coach. Do your research online of finding people that have good reviews.
Mm-hmm.
And just look at them, look at the people that they're around too. Like, a CrossFit gym like us, we have multiple coaches, only a couple of us nutrition coaches, but you can tell a lot about a business, just by looking at the staff members too, and reading Google reviews. We've got lots of good ones. So
Yeah.
and that can be in person, that could be virtually too. Like, it doesn't always have to be, like a ton of work. If your coach is trying to change everything about you, probably not the right coach. Work
Right.
on one thing at a time. Like, I have a friend right now, back in California. He was a client of mine a long time ago. I could talk about him again, about the injuries thing, but he's just sending me a text, a green check mark, every day that he drinks more than 60 ounces of water.
Oh.
Like, I was like, I'll be that accountability partner. Like, this is what you need. He's eating a ton, but he feels like he's not building muscle. He's going through some, just personal stuff, work. Like, we all have stuff going on. So I said, just do this one thing. Just work on the water, because he knows he doesn't drink enough. And that's a step in the right direction because our body is made up of mostly water. Like we need water in our muscles, our joints, like our brain. So if you're gonna do one thing, add your water in.
Yeah. That's a good one. Water is important.
Mm-hmm. Besides just, I mean, the electrolytes and minerals, like actually just getting fluid in your body.
Yeah. I find if I don't drink enough water in a day, I'm just like, I don't know, I just don't feel right. Like I know I need to drink more water.
Yeah, my head hurts, like my joints start to bother me.
Yeah. Did you see that one thing a long time ago where like a lady, she increased her water intake and she took pictures of her face in like 30 days. And then like the beginning and then at the end of 30 days, her face was like more like less wrinkled, like she was more hydrated and she looked way healthier just by drinking more water.
I don't think I did see that,
I
but yeah.
I was just like,
Show again.
like I make
Over
sure
to where
I
mine
drink
is.
enough. Yeah. I was like, wow, that's pretty. I didn't know water would do that, you know?
Yeah, your skin,
Yeah.
brain function.
I'll be all pruny.
Yeah, I don't want to be pruny either. Wrinkles.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good
But
question.
okay, good.
All right. Next question. Injuries are common when it comes to working out, whether it's muscle strain or an injury due to poor form or past injury trauma. For beginners, who are who are the who are the early stages of their injuries tend to discourage the individual to keep going. What would you say to those who need to put extra push on keep going and not feel so discouraged?
I feel like that was a lot of words for a very
It's a
simple
lot.
question.
So I think it's
Um,
trying to say, I guess, someone who has a lot of injuries when it comes
yeah.
to
Or if they get injured and then it's like, oh, why do I even do this? Everything hurts kind of thing.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is my shit. This is what I like to do. To work with people who have new injuries or have old, nagging pains, injuries. Because I've had lots of injuries myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that I would have to be in pain. I mean, I am in pain all the time, chronic pain all the time. But there's ways to help it. There's ways to ease the pain. There's ways to, just rebalance your body. So when I did my personal training cert, I then continued into some extra certificates, and one was through NASM, the corrective exercise, and that just stuck with me. Like after being in the Army and having shoulder injuries, I broke my pelvis, cracked my pelvis,
Yeah.
and had that bone broken for a year. Like nobody told me what to do, like, and how to help myself, and I didn't realize that, like, so your pelvis comes down like this, right? You have this little horseshoe. So I cracked this bottom part and stayed in training. So that happened in basic training when I was 25 years old. So I wasn't a spry chicken, but I did have a couple like corrective exercise physical therapists that were on the base there. And they helped me for a while. And then they just were kind of like, it just has to heal. I didn't realize that compensating and overcompensating so much to not be on my left side created all these other imbalances on my right hip and
Yeah.
my low back. I was on crutches for over 2 months because I could stand, but as soon as I went to lift my leg, the bone would just be pulled on. So it was just like constantly pulling up on the fracture. And so trying to keep my legs straight, I mean, having to like keep up with my unit, like I finished I finished everything I had to do to pass basic training as a military police officer, and I ran the 2 mile in 15:45 or something like that.
Wow, that's impressive.
Broken pelvis, like just pushed through. As I crossed that finish line, I thought I was going to collapse, but then I was like, my leg might actually break off if I do that. It was pretty tough. It was tough, but then I didn't have any treatment afterwards. So getting set up at the VA, it was a whole process.
Yeah.
It created so many issues in my right hip, which also caused issues. I had blown out my shoulder too. So I ended up having 2 shoulder surgeries, one on each. And I still have low back and hip issues, which I finally this year, you know, even as a coach, like this is what I do, but it is very, very helpful to have someone else look at you. So I actually invested in myself this past year because I could barely stand. Like I couldn't stand in coach classes. The pain in my low back, it felt like my discs were just like exploding. And that's been like this for a few years. So I had one of our chiropractors who's connected to the gym actually work on me. She helped me figure out which muscles were imbalanced. So like I had imaging done of my hip. I thought for sure the joint was jacked up, but it wasn't. The joint was fine. It just came down to tears in my hamstrings and the ligaments. So a lot of muscular things, but bone wise, like skeletal wise, I was fine. So having to rebalance that kind of stuff. And so that's been, when did I go to basic? Did I say 2013? Yeah, so 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What year is it? It's 24 now. Yeah, so dealing with these things for so long. So that's why I know what it's like to be in pain. I know how frustrating it is. I know what it's like to have surgery and feel like you're starting over again. So I try to be that person for my clients to let them know, like, this is a rebuilding. It doesn't have to be a restart. Like, you have the knowledge, first off. Your body also will remember what to do.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to give yourself some grace. And it's very hard to reel yourself back, especially when you're like doing gymnastic stuff and you have PRs and like heavy lifts and your times, like especially in the CrossFit world when you're focused on that, or even like more bodybuilding style, like watching everything you built kind of start to disappear because you have to take it easier.
Yeah.
So again, I think when you are having these issues or having injuries, finding a coach that knows what they're doing, working more with, you know, physical therapy. I really, really hate when people feel like the only thing they can do is go to their like primary care doctor. You know, maybe you'll get sent out to a specialist and that's fantastic. But when they're just like, well, this is just how it is. Here's some pain meds. Like it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
It's only going to make things worse because you don't learn how to help yourself. And so I looked up some facts going back through some of my old school books and stuff, and just looking at like this is across, I think, definitely the United States. I don't know if it's the world because a lot of these studies were, I mean, done all over the world, like Australia, United States, Nigeria, looking at different athletes, looking at just regular everyday people. Low back pain, which I know you've dealt with from your accident. I, again, like I said, deal with that. Over 80% of all adults, and this book was from, this is several years ago too, 80% of all adults. And more than 1/3 of work-related injuries are some related to the trunk, and 60% involve the low back. So it's just like, it's an insane amount of people dealing with this. So then think about it too, the amount of money that's put into it, people injuring themselves, right? Work-related injuries cost workers 9 days because of back episodes, adding up to a combined 39 million days of restricted activity for people because of low back pain.
Oh my gosh.
So think of all these companies that are like people struggling and they can't go to work because of injuries and back pain. And then the amount of money that these companies have to put in for people being injured. In the United States, again, this study was done a couple years ago, an estimated annual cost greater than $26 billion covering people with low back pain.
Wow.
Can you imagine if we weren't giving all our money to Ukraine, how much money we'd have for healthcare?
Oh,
So low back pain, and then we have shoulders too. Like I picked the two that seem to be like the most that I see. We have knee pain too, which is another big one. But shoulders, it's reported over 21% of the general population have shoulder issues or shoulder pain. 40% persisting more than a year, which is an estimated cost of $39 billion
wow.
for care for people that have these injuries, for work, insurance, for time off, all these other things. It's crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, sometimes if I sleep on my shoulder too long, it just starts hurting. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, you're part of that.
I'm part of that. It's
You're
like,
part
I'm
of that.
to get a new bed.
You gotta sleep on your pillows just right. I've been like,
I'm not a back sleeper. I can't sleep
um,
on my back. I mean, I could like maybe later on if I could just roll to my back, but I have to start sleeping on my side first.
yeah.
My pillow. Just hold my
You
pillow
hold a pillow.
on my side. Well, like I hug
One
it,
here, one here.
something like this. And just knocks me out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that like, because I'll sleep on my side too, but I have to have a pillow here and another pillow for me to hold
Yeah, I have to.
because I can't be squished because it hurts too much.
Yeah.
But I've heard that having a pillow behind your back too, and having yourself like not this way, but like slightly this way.
Yeah,
So
like
then you're not
those
flush.
pregnancy pillows, you know how they're kind of like a shoe
Mm,
for your body, but it also goes around like your head. So it kind of like cradles you.
yeah, it's like a giant question mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. Oh, that's a whole other topic. People sleeping on their stomachs. I don't want to get into it.
I used to do that and I can't do it anymore because it hurts my back. I used to do it all the time. And I'm like I sleep on my stomach, but I don't know. I tried it and I'm just like, gosh, my back really hurts, so I don't do it anymore.
Well,
But
and think about it, the way you're in your mattress, like your back is constantly just being wrenched on them.
yeah, so I don't do that anymore. It's not the same.
Oh.
Um,
So, um, what were you gonna say? Were you gonna say something else?
oh, I was gonna say, shoulder injuries. Like my brother, I don't know what he did, but one day his shoulder just popped out, and ever since then, oh my God, the crazy story is like it like got dislocated, and so my cousin thought he could just fix it, and you know how those stupid movies where you just freaking pull the arm. So
Oh,
yeah, and my brother was in the car, and the way it happened, I think he was trying to reach for his seatbelt, and he went like this, and then it got dislocated. So he called my cousin because he lived around there, and so he came, and instead of I mean, even if he looked up a video, he totally did it wrong. He like just straight pulled on it and like fucked him up even more, I think. And so they
oh
had to go to
no.
like the ER, and then a doctor. He told me like all they did was like lift it or did something like in a certain way, and it just popped right back into place. But ever
Yeah.
since then, it just gets dislocated easily. So I always tell him like, you need to work it out, but like don't go crazy. Just do soft weights until you feel it stronger so that it doesn't do that.
Yeah, when you pop a shoulder out, like the ligaments get so stretched, especially if it was out for a while, it wasn't like a quick, what's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah, because it got dislocated.
Sublux, and it goes back in, with that sound effect, of course.
Yeah.
But, but there's a lot of just like stabilizing and strengthening movements you can do to even just working the muscles on the back. It popped out front.
Yeah.
Holding things, stabilizing, going through, different planes of motion.
Well,
So there's a lot of stuff you can do.
the ligaments,
Mhm.
it
It
will.
would strengthen. Yeah. So if there was an imbalance, there was a reason his shoulder came forward, some sort of weakness there, or overactivity in the front, weakness on the back. So it wasn't being held where it was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So again, imbalance of the front and back. So yeah, there's ways to make sure you could strengthen it.
Yeah. So I don't know if he's doing
I've
that.
worked, I had a client who it was her like first or second day in class. I was coaching and she let me know ahead of time, like, oh, I've had an issue with my shoulder before. It's popped out of the socket, but it hasn't happened in a really long time. Bloop, popped out. She was standing there. She's like, oh. And I was like, sit down, like you're good. Sit down, just let it hang. And I just rotated it a little bit and it went back in.
Did it hurt?
Yeah, she's had it happen before. So I just stayed calm. I was like, you're okay, just hang out. Everyone else is doing their workout. We ended up working together one-on-one, like doing corrective personal training. For a while, got her back to where she could hang on the rig, where she was doing scat pulls. So moving
Oh
to
my
here,
God,
she felt confident.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was pressing overhead again. And she'd had it happen before, and then she, physical therapy, and then they just let you go. Okay, out into the world. You have no idea what you're doing, except oh, this is gonna help.
Yeah. Yeah, you have to
So
definitely work on it. I would be afraid to lift the bar up. Can you imagine? It's like up.
oh yeah, no, I do. I believe me, I know. I blew up both my labrums. And
Oh,
sometimes I get if I'm pushing heavy weight overhead and I don't have myself in the right position, I will get that
yeah.
yeah. But again, it comes down to those imbalances. That's what I was gonna kind of go into a little more. We sit all the time now. Technology has made it so that we don't have to be as active. We move less. A lot of people working from a desk. And then you have the other side of, physical labor and people moving, but still moving inefficiently.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have more inactive and non-functioning people, which leads to just major dysfunction in the body and the joints. And then we're also increasing those imbalances. So what I was going to say is after my shoulder surgeries, my shoulder blades, I videoed before, and I had the chiropractor look at it because when I'm doing a lat pull down,
Mm-hmm.
everything's even here. But then as I start to come up, even though I'm trying to release or lengthen the muscle from my lats, not the shoulders. So I don't want to hike my shoulders up as I let it go. I'm trying to release from the bottom and lengthen the muscle. My left shoulder blade will always lift up a little higher. So I was thinking that my right shoulder blade was just sticky underneath, the fascia was sticky, muscles were too tight or overactive. But having someone else look at it, she was saying this one moves fine, my right one moves fine, but the left one is more unstable.
Yeah.
So it just kind of it goes up and down and moves around the way it wants to, instead of me actually controlling it better. So when you have things like that, because your muscle lengths are altered, try to keep this simple. say you sit at your desk all the time. Most people then end up having terrible posture, right? They're hunching forward. We're always looking down at our phones. So our neck is all tight in the front. So if your pecs and your upper traps are doing too much because they're always shortened in this kind of like rounded, sad, schlumpy position.
Yeah, like you see those
You're,
people sometimes when they're like kind of like this,
I
and
can't even see where they're going.
it's so sad. And it's just like stretch out. It's like, oh,
It
what?
makes me very sad. That's what's gonna happen to these, like our generation on.
Right? So
Everyone's
when
had
I'm on
all
my
these
phone,
kids.
I always try to like hold it level, so I'm not like when I see the kids like on the iPad, like no, hold it, like prop it up so it's like in your face, because the whole
Yeah,
down stretch thing. Gosh, I've seen said people like, oh, it's so.
like
Ugh.
our necks are gonna start growing out this way.
Yeah.
It makes me crazy, and I hate when I catch myself doing it. I'm like, no. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
try to keep my phone up in front of me. But what that does is it causes muscle imbalances. So when our muscles are shortened, so think about your bicep, like that's an easy one, right? You can all, everybody that's listening can picture that. Like when you make a muscle, your bicep is flexed, right? So it's shortened. It's in that contracted position. So it's sending faster signals to my brain because it's contracted. When
Hmm.
it's lengthened, it's not sending as fast of signals. So when your muscles, like say your pecs, going back to this sitting at a desk all the time, and your upper traps and your neck get overactive and shortened all the time, they're sending faster signals to the brain. So your brain ends up kind of, in a way, just forgetting about other muscles that need to be activated. So our back muscles, if you're just listening, I'm demonstrating with my body right now. I'm hunching like a hunchback. But those back muscles will get lengthened and our brain doesn't use them as fast as our pecs and our upper traps. So if you ever see people like, I mean, they hold their stress in their shoulders.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's really a thing, except that we tense up. And the first things to tense up, or the muscles we tend to use first, are the ones that are always overactive or contracted. So people go to like press, like as an example, just like a lat press down. I have people use bands.
Oh
So
yeah.
let's press down to get our lats activated, right? Our low back muscles. But a lot of times what'll happen is they hike their shoulders up and push
I know
because they're
I
using
do that.
upper do you?
Yeah, like especially like the machine where you have to like push out like this.
Mm-hmm.
I have to like
Like the
always
chest
remember
or
to
shoulders.
push down and then push, because I'm like,
Yeah, there you
but
go.
it
Perfect
just
example.
naturally does that. It's so hard to like keep
Mhm.
them down. It's like, am I supposed to just do the I don't know workout?
I don't know.
Yeah, I have to
But
like,
so it makes sense to you, right?
yeah, it just, yeah, you have to kind of like train yourself, especially when you're starting off, like keep it low and then just work on the strength. Because once it gets heavy, it just naturally goes up. And I'm like, yeah,
You can't bench press with just your upper traps. So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, if I'm bench pressing, then it's a lot easier. But when I'm like doing that incline side and you're like pushing the weight out, it just,
yeah, the two handles.
yeah, it naturally just, I was like, I hate this machine. It doesn't work. This is not made
Well,
for me.
well, when you're doing that, think about the muscles that you're using, right? So when you're bringing your hands back and you're getting into that, like bench press position for the handles, everything in the front should be lengthened. But you're also using your back muscles. So you're using your traps, like everything that's around your shoulder blades. So all that should be squeezed like a spring, ready to go, right? It's contracted. And then when we push off, opening up your back muscles and contracting the front. And sometimes like what I love helping people just realize what they're doing with their body. Because okay, we're bench pressing, like you think it's just the front side of you doing all the work. It's not.
Yeah.
Everything's working together. You're contracting and lengthening and just working in opposites. And
Yeah.
so what happens then is when we're not paying attention to those things is we're creating altered muscle lengths, right? So things that just stay tight all the time, and then muscles that get lengthened. So if there was a like a bone or a joint in between my hands right now, if I was pulled this way, the altered muscle lengths create altered joint motions.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about the shoulder, people dislocating their shoulders, tearing their labrums, getting that impingement syndrome, which is like always right here at the front of the shoulder. This little guy right here. Sore. Our humerus, our arm bone will get stuck right there. And people then they're like, ugh, and then they hike their shoulder up because it's pulled too far forward.
So I have to stretch that
So,
out. Like,
so we want to lengthen the front side. Yeah. So like foam rolling your pecs, loosening your pecs, stretching them, and then doing movements like integrating movements that you're activating the muscles that aren't doing enough. Because
yeah.
if I'm hunched over and my shoulders like rounded forward, then everything like my joint's not going to move properly then. I'm not going to be able to press from that position. And I've experienced it. I've seen it. I love so much to make these things like just understandable, like bringing it down to the basics, like just like that. Like if you are really tight on one side and weak on the other side, you're not going to move properly, which is going to cause more injuries or inflammation, tendonitis, tendinopathy, chronic pain,
Yeah.
just dysfunction. So it is possible to get through it. Like people who get injured, first off, you want to make sure you're doing the movements correctly. So
Yeah.
again, having a coach, especially in the beginning, is super important. And then depending on your goals, you can do it on your own or it keeps the accountability. But for injury wise or avoiding injury, having a coach that knows what they're doing, moving properly, training yourself in more than just one plane, like working on moving in different directions, working on balancing, working, because we're all unstable.
Yeah, I also think too, like when it comes to, especially when you have like an injury like that, I mean, you don't do light weights are okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just start off because I mean, just because you used to carry whatever, let's say 45-pound dumbbell, and then you blow your shoulder, don't be ashamed to do a 10 until it gets strong again. So,
Yeah, you got to take the pride out of it.
right?
It's hard, but you have to, like, if you're ever going to get past it and build it back stronger than it was before,
Mm-hmm.
you can't be a douche about it.
Right.
You can't just bro through it.
uh,
I feel like, I know I went over a lot, but I think I covered the question.
yeah, that is a lot. The last question was, do you have any remedies you can recommend for those who experienced and injuries when working out, like ice, heat, tape, stretching?
Yes. There's a lot of different information on icing and heating, and the benefits. I say do what you feel like helps you. I was told a long time ago, like heat is a little bit more for muscles, and ice is more for like inflammation around the joints. I used a lot of ice on my crotch when I broke my pelvis.
Did you have a cast around like your pelvis? Like, how did that work?
No, I just had 2 Ziploc bags of ice constantly all day long, just sitting and having it resting right on my pelvis.
So
And
it would just heal itself, like reconnect the
yeah,
bone.
yeah, it wasn't like, so it wasn't broken so bad that it was like not in line with itself, but it was cracked all the way through. So it was being pulled on and like I'm sure there's
So it was cracked, but not like officially broken.
not like snapped and like
Yeah.
sharded or sharded.
Oh, can
There
you
were no shards.
guards? Yeah. Um, but let's say it did crack. Would you have like some kind of diaper cast?
I mean, yeah, I'm sure I've seen people with stuff like that before. Their hips
Really?
broken. Yeah. Um,
That would
or you just can't move.
that would suck even more to be just
Or yeah, I don't know how they would have done that.
well, thank
Got to
goodness.
keep the hoo-ha out, you know?
Yeah,
Shit.
something has to come out. There's a hole at the end.
Just like a diaper with a hole.
Oh my God.
Um, yeah, I know. I just again,
Ice.
I never have a whole lot of guidance. Yeah, ice. Um, the pain was excruciating. I don't think I got more than like ibuprofen for it.
Ugh.
Yeah, pretty bad. And like I could have taken it easy. That's the thing. Like I worked way too hard. It was basic training. I was older than everyone. I was like, I'm gonna be the best. And I was like top female for like the PT stuff until that happened. And like I could have just sat on the sidelines like I was supposed to do,
Yeah.
but I didn't. I don't know how to do that. So I'm sure I prolonged the injuries, like all my gear on me because I had to do all this training. So I'd be like crutching out onto the range. Like, okay, of course they put me on the furthest like firing lane that there is. So I'm like, I'm getting there, guys. My M4 across my chest. And then to try to get down to the ground to shoot. Oh my Lord.
Oh my gosh, that must
It
have
was
been.
like I'd have to like, yeah, I don't even remember how I did it because I couldn't bring my leg forward. I couldn't bring my leg out. I could like kneel. So I'd have to bend my knee and then get down like that.
Flop forward.
Basically. Like dead fish it to the ground. And like, are you ready? Fire lane's ready. I'm like, I'm coming. Almost.
You just flop
I
right
got
here.
I got so much shit from the drills, like other drill sergeants. They kept saying I was faking it, and I was like,
Yeah. No, this is
try to
real.
get under your skin.
Yeah.
I still have pain, like besides just the imbalances. Like when I try to go do like pistol squats or something like that, a single leg movement, I
Yeah.
get the same like that pulling feeling, and it like freaks me out a little bit still. So when you have injuries too, and you have some sort of trauma to your body, and that can be an injury to a bone, that could be having a baby, that could be just anything. When you have a traumatic event happen to your body, your nervous system is always trying to protect you. You're always trying to protect that area. So like your fascia will tighten up around there. So then you end up getting more tightness. Like it can just be a spiral if
Yeah.
you don't take action to retrain and rebuild that confidence in your body. Not even just like confidence in your body, but your mind's confidence in what your body can do.
Hmm.
Like I've had people just recently, multiple people, new people coming into the gym that could not squat. Like,
Like body squat.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah. Like to try to get down into just an air squat, not even like going far down, like not getting to ass to grass or anything. But they just like their knees fall in, they like fold forward and they get up on their toes because their mind is and their nervous system is trying to compensate and protect them so they don't fall. So it's like doing all these different things that are, altered motions, altered joint motions. And then, okay, let's use a box. Like this is something you can do. If you don't know how to squat properly or you're afraid to, squat to a box, squat to a bench, squat to something that's not that far down. Keeping your knees out, keeping your chest up, tap your butt to the box, stand up, tap your butt to the box, stand up, and just work through that and slowly make that object lower and lower
hmm.
until you have the confidence to do it without a box or a bench.
Yeah.
Like, so just, again, building that confidence in yourself and your body of what your body can do safely without compensating.
Yeah.
And so now I have these people. One, she had a really bad back injury. So her, like, she was just like, oh, it's going to hurt, even though it didn't. But her body would just like tighten up because she was afraid. It becomes like a subconscious thing that we do. We don't even mean to. And now she's deadlifting and she's squatting, not to like, parallel. She's still a little bit higher than that. Oh, without pain, because we took extra time and we did, foam rolling to release some of those overly tight muscles, and then stretching those, and then activating the muscles that aren't doing enough, and
Mm-hmm.
then doing an integrated movement where you're using all of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is, as a coach, like, each person is different. So we want to make sure that we are taking an integrated approach to each person, taking consideration flexibility of the muscles, stability of the joints, neuromuscular control. So, like, do you have that mind body connection? Some people don't know where their body is in space at all.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. I'm like, oh, do you feel like, can you feel the floor through your feet? Like, are you feeling like you're holding on or pushing? And we're going to be like, I don't know what my body's doing. Like, I'm trying to make that connection, but I just really don't know. It's like, all right, well, we're going to keep working on it until you feel it and it makes sense to you. Some people just don't have that mind body connection. They just don't know how to control their movements.
Hmm.
Like, all right, send your hips back, and they bend their knees. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Let's start with the basics.
Start over. Wow.
But I also do taping. So I have certifications through Rock Tape. So I work with tape, cupping, scraping, like all those things to, again, work with your nervous system to, like, scraping out areas that are adhesed. Your fascia gets all adhesed, so kind of like rubbing those out, and kind of combing through the muscle and the fascia, to release some of those just really tight spots where your muscles are all knotted up. Try to protect you, usually. The tape works with your nervous system also, and it can really help. What's the word I want to use? Powering down. I just like totally lost my train of thought. Cut that out. What am I trying to say?
The tape, it helps you, I don't know,
Yeah.
the correct position.
Yeah. Yeah. So it works with your nervous system, and it helps decompress areas. So, like, if you have swelling or inflammation, like, it's not a magic thing, but there is the science behind it, and experiencing it myself, how much it worked. If you have tape, or if you bump your elbow, the first thing you do is you rub it, right? You work all those little nerve endings to try to disperse the pain. So if I would be putting tape around my elbow or a spot of pain, right, we're kind of crisscrossing that spot of pain or inflammation. So it's actually decompressing the layers from our skin, the fluid underneath, to our muscles, all those deep layers, and it just decompresses it enough, like put some of that pull on it to help blood flow, to help fluid flow through there, to move the inflammation around, which inflammation is a natural reaction of our body to help promote healing. But when our muscles are really tight, we're not drinking enough water, we don't have enough fluid going through our body, it can all just get stuck there. And it makes it feel more supported. So that also helps your nervous system feel safe. I taped someone's arches the other day because we did a lot of jumping, a lot of jump rope, and his arches were killing him. And he had to go, up on roofs and stuff. So I was like, let me tape your feet. Let me know how it feels. Just kind of as a first time for him. But he has flat feet. So I taped his arches inside to where they were pulling up on his arches to make his brain more aware of, hey, this is where I need to hold my arches. And he said it felt fantastic. The rest of the day, I think he said the tape stayed on for a couple days and then he pulled it off. So a lot of benefits to all those things. And if you learn how to do it yourself, like you could tape up, like if you have a better idea of, how it works or have it done several times, excuse me, just ways to do it yourself if you start to have some pain or aches or things like that. There's a lot of ways. I love to teach people what they can do for themselves. Like if I have sessions with you, I don't want to have you forever. I mean, most likely I'll be sad when we're done. But I don't want you to have to rely on me forever. Like same as I don't want to have to rely on a doctor or, a chiropractor forever. Like I want to learn what I can do for myself, my own time. And I've had a lot of people get amazing results and just, holy crap, like I've learned more. I have one client tell me she's learned more from me in like the first 2 sessions we had than like the last 9 years of going to different doctors and chiropractors and physical therapists for her sciatic pain, her low back pain and sciatic pain. I taught her how to foam roll and how to activate her glutes and hamstrings and her core.
Yeah.
And she's been pain free. She said it's the first time she's been able to sleep in years because she would just be in so much pain all the time. So that's pretty cool.
That is very cool. Yeah, sciatica is no joke. My mom has that. I had it when I was pregnant. Oh man, that tingly feeling that shoots down your leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually just comes from a pinching of the nerve, right? So if you think about your pelvis and you're pregnant, everything is like pushing forward, right? As your belly's growing. And it just pulls on that nerve in the back and pinches it.
Yeah. And it's,
It's awful.
it is. It is. But all of a sudden you're like, well, when I was pregnant, you're just waddling even more. Like,
right. Creating more imbalances.
Yeah. It's like I shouldn't be favoring this other side, but at the same time, it's like, God, this pain is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm throwing it out there. I'm happy to take on more, virtual clients. Can help you through the phone. There's a lot of assessments and things you can do to see how your body moves and just like, a normal squat, a single leg balance, things like that. Or, shoulders when it comes to those shoulder assessments, and to create a plan, exercises you can do either on your own or, having virtual sessions. I have a virtual client still from California called Helen, man. She's doing amazing. Like she couldn't even get up and down off the floor when we first started. She wouldn't she'd be like, can you look away while I try to get down? Because she was so embarrassed. I mean, she's in her early 60s. She had scoliosis. She had back surgery. She had rods in her back. She's had shoulder surgeries, knee surgeries, just like all kinds of things, hip surgeries. And she gets up and down off the ground. She band deadlifts over 100 pounds.
Wow. For
Yeah.
someone who couldn't even walk down the stairs, man, she must be gliding down the stairs now.
Yeah. Doing
That's
amazing. She, yeah. Then we just do virtual. We do 30-minute sessions 3 times a week now. And it's not so much corrective stuff as it used to be. Now it's just like getting her to work out. I'm like, girl, you got to get heavier weights.
right.
We started with 5s because she wasn't allowed to lift more than 10 pounds. And now she's pushing 15s, like 15-pound dumbbells. So it's amazing. It really is a blessing to be able to help people and see people progress and not have so much pain.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
you were part of that. You helped her.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. So we'll have your email on the bottom so people can reach out and set up appointments with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Or my Instagram too.
Oh yeah.
Have people reach out on there. Coach Lizzie _87. That's me.
Yeah.
Catch me outside.
in Tennessee.
Tennessee. Yeah. Tennessee.
Right. Well, those were some good questions and a lot to go over, especially for anyone who has experienced any type of injury. It's good.
Yeah. Right.
All right. So until the next episode, we'll figure out our new topic. Or if
Yeah.
anyone has suggestions on topics, we'd be glad to talk about it. That water one was a good one. I still think about it.
Yeah.
All
I
those
do too. Like
the chemicals in the water. Yeah, no
chemicals
one.
on our food, on our faces.
Yeah, when it's not
I
talked.
still, I need to make a list of the clean 15 and the dirty dozen, because I've been thinking about, I've only gone grocery shopping a couple times since then, but I've been thinking about it and I'm like, wait, which one is which? I think I want to get that list of grocery shopping, which things I should get more organic of.
You should.
I don't want to talk about stuff and then not apply it. I'm gonna be a hypocrite.
Yeah, like tomatoes. I had to buy whole peeled tomatoes, but then there was like the organic can one. It's like, oh, because tomatoes are on the dirty dozen, so I'm gonna buy organic.
There you go. Nice, good job.
Remembered.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Right.
all righty. Until next week.
Till next week. Bye.
Bye.